Hello and welcome to this new video. This time we are going to make the famous Blender owl. If you don't know, this model is based on a not very popular tutorial from the Blender official channel. This modeling tutorial is meant for very beginners, so I'm going to do this step by step and I will try to explain as much as possible during the process. Another thing is that I made this model my own way and is by no means the only way or the best way to do this. Make sure you know the basics before we start. So let's get started. The first thing to do is to open the Add menu by pressing Shift 8. In here we need to go to Mesh and select the cube. Press period on your number pad to get closer to the cube. Now we need to go to Edit mode by pressing Tab or by switching the interaction mode inside this menu. Once in Edit mode, we need to take a cut in the middle of the cube. For this, press Ctrl R and move the mouse close to the cube to see a yellow line. Do one click to add the cut and press Enter without moving the mouse. This will keep the cut in the middle. Let's go to the front orthographic view by pressing number pad 1, or you could use the tool that is in the right upper corner of the viewport. In here, we need to press Shift-C to go to wireframe view and then click and drag to make a box selection for this side of the cube. With that selected, press X and select Delete Vertices. Now press Shift-C again to go back to Solid View, move back to Perspective View, and as you can see now, we only have half of this cube. Remember that we are still in Edit mode, so let's open the Add menu by pressing Shift-8 and add another cube. With that new cube selected, press G and X to move the cube on X-axis a little bit. After this, right-click on the cube and select Subdivide. Right-click again and select Subdivide again. Now press 3 on your keyboard to switch to Face Selection, or you could go to this area and click on Face Selection. With this selection on, hold down Alt and click on the edges to create a loop selection like this one. Now hold down Shift, Alt and click on these other edges to create a new loop selection without losing the first one. Rotate the perspective view to the back and then hold down Shift and left click and drag on these back faces to box select the area. After this, press X and select the faces. And now we only have a row and the front faces. Click on one of the faces and then press L to select the whole area. Now press N to open the transform menu and type 0 on the X-axis. Once you do that, you need to press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic view and then press G, Y and move the faces a bit to the front. Now press 1 on your number pad to go to front orthographic view. Then move the mouse away from the center and press S to make the selection smaller by moving the mouse. You could also type a number like 0.60 and hit Enter. After this, press 1 on your keyboard or go to Vertices Selection. Once you do that, we need to press Shift-C to go to Wireframe View. Now click on an empty area to deselect the object and then click and drag to box select the following vertices. And now press X and delete the vertices. As you can see now, we only have half of these two cubes. Okay, I'm going back to front orthographic and wireframe view. And in here, I need to manipulate the vertices to change the shape of the small cube. Things to have under consideration. The first one is that these vertices in the middle should only be moved in Z-axis, up and down. And the second thing is that I'm not selecting the vertices with one click, but with box selection. This is because I want to be sure that I'm selecting the front and the back vertices. Now let's start with this. With a box selection of these two vertices, press G, see it, and move them down a little bit. Select this one and press GC to move it up a bit too. Now box select this vertex and move it like in the video. Then move the other vertices too. The goal here is to create the shape of half of a heart. This doesn't have to be exactly like mine, but close enough. Remember, the one in the middle only in Z-axis. Keep tweaking the vertices until you have something that you like. Once you're happy with the shape, let's go to the modifier, add modifier, and add a mirror modifier. And now we have the other side complete. Inside the mirror modifier, make sure to turn on clipping to keep everything together. With the clipping off, you can move the middle of the vertices to the sides, but with clipping on, you will prevent that. Let's now make some adjustments to the center vertices to create like a small curve. After you do that, press Ctrl R here, click and enter to create a new cut. If you want it, make some adjustments to fit this new cut correctly. Now we need to select the vertices for the nose and move them a bit closer to the middle. Make sure the top vertices are a bit closer than the bottom ones. After that, press Shift-C to go back to solid view, and if you want, you could turn on cage on the mirror modifier. Let's start with the nose. Press 3 on your keyboard or switch to face selection. Select these faces and hold down Shift and select the second one. Press E and extrude that around 0.12. Switch back to vertex selection and click the vertex on the top of the nose. After this, press period on your number pad to move closer to that vertex. With that vertex selected, hold down Shift and click to select the second one. Then press M to merge and select at last. Make sure that you click on the vertices to have that merge option available. If you do box selection instead, you won't be getting that option visible. Okay, now move to the bottom of the nose and press Ctrl R to create a new cut. Click and slide the cut down a bit and hit enter. Once you do that, press Ctrl number pad 7 to go to bottom orthographic view, then press Shift-C to go to wireframe, select the vertex in the middle and move it by pressing GY. Then box select these two vertices on the corner and press G to create like a low poly curve. Finally, select these two on the bottom and move them a bit. Press Shift-C to go back to solid view, switch back to face selection and select these two faces. Then move the mouse away from the center and press I and move it down to create an inset. Make a click and then go to the inset face settings and uncheck boundary to merge the inset in the middle. Press 1 on your keyboard or go back to vertex selection. Select this vertex and press G to move it a bit in. Select the middle one and move it by pressing GY. Also, select that one to move it a bit in and the last one like this to make this curve shape. Once you finish that, press 3 to go back to face selection and then select the faces that are inside. Go back to perspective view and then press E and extrude inside the nose. Press Tab to go back to object mode or select object mode in the interaction mode. Right click on the model and select Shade Smooth. Then let's go to Modifier, Add Modifier, Subdivision Surface and increase the level to 2. Now hit Tab to go back to Edit mode, then press 1 to go to Vertex Selection and select the vertex on the main cube corner. With the mouse on that vertex, press L to select the linked vertices and then press Ctrl B and move the mouse up a bit to create a bevel. Once you finish that, press 3 to switch to face selection. Go to the modifier and turn off the subdivision modifier for edit mode by clicking in this icon. After you turn that off, select these two faces that are inside the nose. Then press Shift-D to create a copy and hit Z and move that new copy down. With those faces selected, press 1 on your number pad to go to front orthographic view. Press E to extrude that, but if you notice that the blue axis is not a straight line, you need to press Z twice. And after that, move the extrusion down a bit. Now reduce the size of the selected faces by pressing S, and then reduce again, but only on X-axis by pressing SX. After that, press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic. Now switch to vertex selection by pressing 1 and Shift C to see the wireframes. We now need to make a new cut with Ctrl R. Move the cut down a bit and then press R to rotate the selection just a bit. Then press G and move that a little to create a small curve. Box select this bottom vertex and press R to rotate that around 24. Press G to move them closely, R again to rotate a little bit more, and G to move it a little bit more. Now box select these two vertices and press G to move those closer to the other two. Keep moving the vertices until you're happy with the shape, and then press Shift C to go back to solid view. Go to the modifier and turn on subdivision surface for edit mode. Then press 3 on your number pad for right orthographic view. Then press Shift C to go to wireframe and continue with the tweaks for the beak. This is one of those models in which you have to do it until you have the shape that you like the most. For me, I'm going to make it thicker in the center and thinner at the bottom of the shape. Once you're happy with that, go back to solid view with Shift C and then press Ctrl R to make a cut and slide that cut up. With that new cut selected, put the mouse on the vertex and press L to select linked and move the beak up by pressing G, C. Let's move on. Press Tab to go to object mode. Once there, go to the modifier and turn off the subdivision modifier for edit mode. After this, go back to 3D viewport and press Shift A and add a UV sphere. Then press Shift C to go to wireframe, tap to go to edit mode and press R, X and type 90 to rotate the sphere 90 degrees and hit enter. Now we need to scale down the sphere by pressing S around the size of the nose. Press 1 on your number pad to go to front orthographic view and G to move the sphere to one of the sides to create an eyeball. Around there. Then press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic and GY to move the sphere in Y axis. Probably at the same level as the nose. You could press Shift C to go back to solid view and adjust the sphere. After this, go to the modifier, add modifier mirror to have a second sphere. Tap to go back to object mode, right click on the sphere and select shade smooth. Select the main body and press Tab to go to edit mode. Then press 3 on your keyboard to switch to face selection and select these 4 faces by holding down Shift. Press I to create an inset, and it doesn't matter the distance, we just need to create that. Press 1 on your number pad, switch back to vertex selection and also press Shift C to go to wireframe. Now, using the G to move the vertices, we need to create like a low poly circle around the sphere. It doesn't have to be perfect. Something like this. Once we finish this, press Shift C to go back to solid view, hide the sphere for a moment and box select the circle that you just create. Turn the sphere on and press E to extrude in the circle. Go to the modifier and turn on the subdivision surface for edit mode to see what we have. Now that we have the main body done, we could continue with the other parts. With the main body selected, we need to start by going to Edit Mode if you're not there, or press Tab to go to Edit Mode. After this, turn off the clipping on the mirror modifier, then go back to the viewport and press Shift-A to add a new cube. Now press G-X to move the cube away from the center. Go back to the modifier and turn off the subdivision modifier for edit mode and turn on clipping in the mirror modifier. Now right-click on the new cube and select Subdivide. Then press S, X and make the cube smaller in X-axis. Once you do that, press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic, Shift-C for wireframe view, and S to reduce the cube around 0.5. Press 1 on your keyboard to switch back to vertex selection. Then press R to rotate the cube around 45 degrees by holding down Ctrl. After that, box select the bottom vertex, press G and move that down to the edge of the main cube. Box select that other vertex and move it down to around there. Box select this one and move that down close to the corner. Box select this one and move it a little bit in Y-axis. Box select these two and move that a bit down. Box select the center two and this other vertex and move it in a little bit. The main goal here is to create a low poly shape of the wing. Keep tweaking until you get something that resembles a wing with box selection and G. Once you have something good, press Shift-C to go back to solid view. Now turn on subdivision for edit mode, and if you want, keep tweaking the wing with the subdivision on. Remember that most of the time the final shape depends on your taste. Go back and forth from solid view to wireframe view by pressing Shift-C to complete the tweaks. Now that you finished that, go to wireframe view, select one of the vertices of the wing and then press L to select linked. Press G, Y and move the wing a bit closer to the sphere and then go back to solid view with Shift-C. Now move the wing closer to the body with GX. And remember, you could keep tweaking the wings. After that, press Tab to go to Object Mode, right-click on the mesh and select Shade Smooth. Now I'm going to name my objects just for organization purposes. One thing that I do most of the time is to add numbers before the name to keep them where I want them. Start by turning off the main body and the eyes, and remember that we need to be in object mode. Then press Shift-A and add a new plane. Press 7 on your number pad to go to top orthographic view, then press Tab to go to edit mode and press Ctrl-R to make a cut right in the middle. Box select the left vertex and press X to delete the vertices. Now select the vertices on the right and press GX to move them close to the center. Select the top right vertex and press G to move that down a bit far from the center to create like a pointy shape. Press Ctrl-R to create a cut and slide the cut up. Then select the vertex and move it with G to create a curved shape. Now let's go to Modifier, Add Modifier and select Mirror. Go back to the Modifier, Add Modifier and select Subdivision Surface. Then switch to Face Selection by pressing 3. Select the faces and make sure clipping is on inside the Mirror modifier. Go back to the 3D viewport and press E to extrude in Z-axis up around 0.1. Now press Ctrl-R to create a new cut and slide that to the smooth sides and hit enter. Tap to go back to object mode, right-click on the object and select Shade Smooth. Turn everything on again and put a name to that new mesh. Then press G, Y to move the tail to the back of the main mesh. Make sure you keep a small part inside the object. With the tail selected, press Shift D to create a copy and put a name. Press 7 on your number pad to go to Top Orthographic View. Make sure that you have selected the new copy and select the mirror modifier. Click on the arrow and press Apply. Go back to the viewport and press Tab to go to Edit mode. In here, make sure that you have everything selected and press G, X and move that one to one of the sides like this one. Now press R to rotate the mesh and then S to scale down a little bit. And you will have something like this. After that, press Shift D to create a copy and then press G to move that. S to scale down. Press R to rotate that too. And you will have something like this. To finish these steps, go to the modifier, Add Modifier, Mirror. Tap to go back to Object mode and make sure you select the two meshes corresponding to the tail and press R, X and rotate that around 25 degrees. Start by selecting the main body. Press Tab to go to Edit mode and then press Shift-C for wireframe view. Then go to the modifier and turn off clipping from the mirror modifier. Now press Shift-A and add a new cylinder. Reduce the verses to 8, the radius to 0.15 and depth to 0.5. Press G, X and move the cylinder away from the center and then turn clipping on again. After this, press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic view, then press G, C and move the cylinder all the way to the bottom of the cube. Go to the modifier and turn off subdivisions for edit mode. Press S to scale and then press Shift-C to only scale on X and Y but not in Z axis. Reduce the cylinder around 0.5, press Enter and then press S, Z to scale the cylinder just in Z axis. The next thing is to press Shift-D to create a copy and press C to move this copy down. Now, box select the top vertex of the cylinder and press S, Shift-C and scale that part a bit bigger. Once you finish that, press L to select Linked and press R to rotate the cylinder until you touch the bottom of the cube. And you're probably going to need to move the cylinder up a little bit. Box select the second cylinder, press G to move it close to the first one and then press R to rotate until you get something like this. Select the bottom of the cylinder, press S to scale that a little bit down in that area. Now select the second cylinder and the first one with L and move them by pressing G, X, just a little bit. Move to the gap between the two cylinders. Press 3 on your keyboard to switch to face selection and delete the faces by pressing X. Press 2 to switch to edge selection. Alt-click to select the edges around the first cylinder and hold down Shift, Alt and click to select the other one too. Now go to Edge, Bridge Edge Loop. Press 3 on your number pad to go to right orthographic view, then press Ctrl R to make a cut in the middle and press G to move that cut a little bit to the back. Make any adjustments that you need. Once you finish that, press Tab to go to object mode right-click on the mesh and select Shade Smooth. Then tap to go back to Edit Mode, 3 on your keyboard to go to Face Selection and delete the bottom faces. You could also delete the faces that are inside the cube, because we don't need it. This is the last section, and we are going to start in Edit Mode in the main body. Press Shift-C to go to Wireframe View and Shift-A to add a new plane. Go to the Mirror modifier and turn off clipping. Press G-C to move the plane down close to the legs. Then press S to make it smaller and G-X to move the plane closer to the legs position. Press G-C again in case that you need to move the planes closer to the end of the legs, and then press 7 on your number pad to go to Top Orthographic to center the planes. Once you finish that, press 1 on your keyboard to go to Vertex Selection and select the vertices on the back of the plane. Press SX and reduce that close to the feet. Now hold down Shift and box select the front vertices. Then press Shift-C to go back to Solid View and press E to extrude the plane up a little bit. Press Ctrl-R to make a cut, but before you click, scroll the mouse middle wheel to create a second cut and click. Box select these two vertices, hold down Shift and box select these two also, and then press G, Y and move those vertices in Y axis a bit to the back. Make any adjustments that you want. Once you're done, go to the bottom of the feet and select the face that is closer to the center. Then press Shift-S and select Cursor to select it, and you will have the cursor below the face. Now press N for the side panel, go to View, 3D Cursor and change the X location to 0. Tap to go to Object Mode, right-click, Set Origin, Origin to 3D Cursor. Press Shift-S and select the cursor toward origin. Now press Alt-G and you will see the main body move to the world center, and after that you need to arrange the position of the eyes and the tail. Once you finish that, select the main body and press Tab to go to Edit Mode. In here, let's finish the feet. Start by making 3 cuts by pressing Ctrl-R. Scroll the mouse wheel to get the 3 cuts and hit Enter. Then Alt-click to select the first cut and slide that cut to the front by pressing G, G. Turn on the subdivision modifier for Edit Mode and slide these edges to the back. Now I'm going to make some cuts for the border areas with Ctrl-R. Ctrl-R here. Ctrl-R there, Ctrl-R here, Ctrl-R there, Ctrl-R here, Ctrl-R there, and finally press 3 on your keyboard to go to Face Selection, select this face, turn off Subdivision modifier for Edit Mode, press Shift-D to create a copy and Y to move it to the front just a bit. With that face selected, press E to extrude that, and then press SX to make it a bit smaller. Switch to Vertex Selection by pressing 1, select the top vertices and press G, C to move them down just a bit. Select the 4 front vertices again and press S, X to make it a bit smaller. Press Ctrl-R to make a cut, then select the top vertices and press G, C to move them up. Turn the subdivision on for Edit Mode, create a cut with Ctrl-R and move it to the back. After that, create a vertical cut with Ctrl-R again right in the middle. Select the middle vertices like this and move them up with G-seed. Keep making tweaks until you're happy with the shape. Once you finish that, press Tab to go to Object Mode, right-click Shade Smooth. Tab to go back to Edit Mode and finish all the tweaks that you need. With everything already done, the last two things that we need to do is to create two copies of the claws with Shift-D and move them to the correct position with everything that we already practiced during this video. The second thing is to select the feet and the legs with L and then press R-C to rotate that a little bit like this. And now we are done. Alright, I hope you liked this video. Keep tweaking everything and let me know if you want me to do the shading and texture paint for this model. Bye!